2 days ago, Oliver Tree boarded a helicopter in Rio de Janeiro. He never landed. 2 helicopters collided mid-air over the city. 6 people died, and the world went into shock. But while the crash investigation is still ongoing, and nobody has a cause yet, something else surfaced online that stopped people cold.
After making tens of millions of dollars over 8 years for Atlantic Records, they no longer want to support my art because I'm not making songs for TikTok. And after dedicating my entire life to making art, I never got into this to make TikTok songs. But the label doesn't want to support the vision. Well, guess what? I don't give a shit. My team has got the label to agree to release Love You Madly, Hate You Badly on my personal imprint, Alien Boy Records.
The album came out on April 24th, 2026, on his own terms, through his own label. And then, 51 days later, he is dead in a helicopter crash that seems like a fiction story. The story of this helicopter crash might be much darker than just an unlucky coincidence. The question is, who might have been interested in Oliver Tree's death, and why? Let's break it all down. The crash. Now, for those that don't know all of the details of the crash, let me walk you through everything we know right now. On the morning of June 14, 2026, Oliver Tree and 4 others boarded a helicopter in Rio de Janeiro, bound for Angra dos Reis, a coastal city about 150 kilometers west of the city, where the group was headed to film a music video. The people on board were a tight creative circle: Brazilian DJ Lucas Frota, Argentinian video director Lucas Vignale, YouTuber Gaspy, and pilot Alexandre Souza. A second helicopter carrying only pilot Charles Marciac was in the same airspace performing a refueling procedure. Shortly before 9 a.m. local time, the 2 aircraft collided mid-air over Recreio dos Bandeirantes, a neighborhood in the western zone of Rio. One of the helicopters came down into the parking lot of a BYD electric vehicle dealership on Avenida das Americas. It exploded on impact, spreading fire across roughly 20 vehicles.
Fire officials say the crash happened right before 9 local time. The impact sent debris into buildings nearby, and one of the helicopters crashed into an electric car, sparking a large fire.
Brazil's National Civil Aviation Agency confirmed it is examining the documentation and legal status of both aircraft and both pilots. The Air Force deployed crash investigators to the site to preserve evidence and collect flight data. A cause has not been announced. The investigation is active. What we do know is that there was supposed to be a 7th person on that helicopter. Brazilian producer Victor WAO had been in the studio with Oliver Tree and Lucas Frota the night before the crash. He was meant to fly with them to Angra dos Reis that morning. At the last second, he told the group he was afraid to fly. Lucas Frota quietly arranged a car for him, found someone else to take his seat, and boarded the helicopter himself. Victor WAO drove to Angra dos Reis by road. 6 people died, and no explanation yet for why 2 helicopters found each other in the sky over a residential neighborhood on a Sunday morning. That is the official story. Now here is where it gets complicated. The conspiracy. Within hours of the crash being confirmed, a post went viral on X. The account Observate wrote, "Oliver Tree's last video on the internet is currently resurfacing, and he revealed that he feels his life is in danger after he left his record label Atlantic Records. They told me to watch my back and that I will regret leaving them. I just wanted better for my career." 8 million views shared across every platform. The implication was clear. Oliver Tree had been threatened by his label, and now he was dead.
I just got word that my album is no longer coming out. Love You Madly, Hate You Badly is officially canceled, and I'm parting ways with Atlantic Records. Behind the scenes has been nothing short of a nightmare. I have no marketing budgets for music videos, no digital ad spend. Nobody really cares in the building, it seems like. I made a lot of money for Atlantic Records, and they don't seem to remember that.
That is not a man who is quietly moving on. That is a man who is publicly burning a bridge with one of the biggest labels in the music industry. And to fully understand why that matters and why the internet connected it to a helicopter crash 2 months later, you need to understand who Oliver Tree was, how he got to Atlantic Records in the first place, and what that relationship actually looked like over 9 years. Oliver Tree Nickel was born on June 29, 1993, in Santa Cruz, California. Santa Cruz sits on the California coast about 75 miles south of San Francisco. Surf culture, skate culture, a very specific strain of West Coast weirdness that either produces people who disappear into the background completely, or people who could never blend in anywhere under any circumstances. Oliver Tree was emphatically the latter, and the signs were there from the very beginning. He started taking piano lessons at age 3, was writing songs by 4, and by his own account had a full album written by the time he was 6. His parents did not question this. In retrospect, they probably should have understood they were raising someone for whom normal was never going to be a viable option. Growing up, he absorbed an unusually wide range of music: jazz, hip-hop, pop punk, indie rock, a breadth That meant he never fully belonged to anyone's sound and never felt the need to. Outside the music, he was skateboarding and teaching himself to produce on GarageBand. In middle school, he played guitar and sang in a ska band called Irony. That band name alone tells you everything you need to know about the trajectory. Around 2010, he started releasing music on SoundCloud under the pseudonym Criff, primarily making dubstep with other artists around the Santa Cruz scene. He then moved to San Francisco, studied business at San Francisco State University for 2 years, and somewhere in that period went through something that fundamentally changed the direction of his life. He had a serious incident at the Burning Man Festival involving a bad experience with acid that nearly killed him, an event he later described as the moment that launched his music career in earnest, a way to process and escape what had become a genuine drug problem.
I thought I died. I thought I overdosed. It's like a rebirth, you know? And I'm literally on the ground, and I've convinced myself that essentially the way I would explain it is that my brain has been destroyed, but my body's still going. And this is a time where I was like straight up addict. Like my parents kicked me out of the house. I was literally using a different drug every day, selling hard drugs to survive, just living on my friends' couches.
The absurdism, the layers of irony, the refusal to ever be fully serious. All of it makes more sense when you know it was built on top of something real and dark. Oliver Tree was not performing weirdness for attention. He was channeling something through it. By 2013, he had released his debut EP Demons on R&S Records, a collection of electronic tracks that caught enough attention to keep him moving. Then came 2016 and the pivot that changed everything. He built a following on Vine through his alter ego, Turbo, a character defined by a bowl cut, oversized 1980s clothing, and a persona so deliberately, precisely irritating that it became impossible to ignore. Vine was the right platform at the right moment, and Turbo was engineered for it. Short, immediate, maddening, engineered to provoke a reaction, whether that reaction was love or genuine irritation. It worked completely.
Out of the way, dumbars! Dumbars. Mom, you're dumbars.
Pronounce it dumbass.
The hell, Jeffrey, get the hell out, dude!
That same year, he linked with producer Wethin. Wethin released When I'm Down featuring Oliver Tree, a poppy, infectious track that went viral, and introduced him to a mainstream audience well beyond the Vine crowd. And then, almost immediately after that song landed, came the call that changed his life. In late 2016, Oliver Tree signed with Atlantic Records. A month later, he graduated from the California Institute of the Arts, college student to major label artist in 30 days. Now, Atlantic Records. This is where the story gets important, because this is where the conspiracy thread actually starts. Signing with Atlantic. Atlantic Records is not a small operation. It is one of the oldest and most powerful labels in the music industry, home at various points to Led Zeppelin, Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles, and in the modern era, Bruno Mars, Cardi B, Ed Sheeran, and Lizzo. When Atlantic signs you, it means something. It opens doors. It also means you are now operating inside a machine that was not built around your creative vision. It was built around commercial output, quarterly numbers, and TikTok algorithms. For most artists, that tension is manageable. For Oliver Tree, it was a slow-burning conflict that lasted 9 years and ended with him going public in the most confrontational way possible. The first years looked promising. In 2017, he released his debut single under Atlantic, Welcome to L.A. In February 2018 came the Alien Boy EP, along with a double music video for All That X Alien Boy that he wrote and directed himself, a project that took over 9 months to complete and amassed over 50 million views. The label was happy, the numbers were working. Oliver Tree had creative control and the machine had its content. In 2020, Ugly is Beautiful dropped, his first proper studio album. It topped 2 Billboard charts and was certified gold by the RIAA. Then 2021, and Life Goes On, a song that exploded on TikTok and became one of the defining audio tracks of that year, used in over 3.7 million videos on the platform alone. Atlantic was making money. Oliver Tree was making art. For a moment, those two things were aligned. Then the cracks started showing. In 2022, Oliver Tree released Cowboy Tears, a full country album. Not a country-influenced album, not an album with one country track, from the guy with the bowl cut who made dubstep on SoundCloud. Pitchfork gave it a 4.8. Atlantic's marketing department presumably had a quiet panic attack. The album did not perform the way Ugly is Beautiful had, and from that point forward, the relationship between Oliver Tree and the label started shifting. Alone in a Crowd followed in 2023. Another album, another creative swing, another round of label conversations about what direction he was supposed to be heading. And throughout all of it, Oliver Tree was becoming increasingly vocal, publicly and privately, about the gap between what the label wanted from him and what he actually wanted to make.
And what happens is the labels own the studios, so they're paying themselves with money that they're giving you on a really
loan. So like I make 14 cents on the dollar with my contract. So then I have to pay $7 back to pay each dollar back. And on top of that, they're funneling the money back into their own pockets because they own the studio. So it's this crazy loophole where I'm just getting screwed every which way.
Then came 2025. Oliver Tree spent 2 years recording his 4th album across 7 continents and 80 countries, recording sessions in Latvia, Rio de Janeiro, and dozens of other locations. He was building something he described as the most ambitious project of his career. He handed it to Atlantic, and then, on April 1st, 2026, a date that initially made fans think it was a joke, he went on Instagram and said this.
I just got word that my album is no longer coming out. Love You Madly, Hate You Badly is officially canceled, and I'm parting ways with Atlantic Records. Behind the scenes has been nothing short of a nightmare. I have no marketing budgets for music videos, no digital ad spend. Nobody really cares in the building, it seems like. I made a lot of money for Atlantic Records, and they don't seem to remember that.
He also revealed that the label had forgotten to add multiple songs to their system, including a Valentine's Day song that never got released because of internal errors. This was not a calculated PR move. This was a man who had spent 9 years building something inside a machine, watched that machine fail him at the most critical moment, and decided to say exactly what he thought about it on camera. Less than 2 weeks later, he returned with a follow-up video.
After making tens of millions of dollars over 8 years for Atlantic Records, they no longer want to support my art because I'm not making songs for TikTok. And after dedicating my entire life to making art, I never got into this to make TikTok songs. But the label doesn't want to support the vision. Well, guess what? I don't give a shit. My team has got the label to agree to release Love You Madly, Hate You Badly on my personal imprint, Alien Boy Records.
He won the battle. The album came out on April 24th, 2026, on his own terms, through his own label. He had escaped Atlantic Records. He had gone independent. He was 8 years into his career, at the peak of his creative output, with a 70-date world tour booked across 7 continents. And for the first time, everything he made was entirely his own. And then, 51 days later, he was dead. Now let's be clear about something before we go any further. There is no evidence that Oliver Tree was murdered. The Brazilian aviation authorities are investigating a mid-air collision between 2 helicopters, and every indication right now points toward a tragic accident, a navigational failure, an air traffic control breakdown, a catastrophic coincidence over a busy urban airspace. That is the most likely explanation, and it is important to say that clearly. But the internet does not run on likelihood, it runs on pattern recognition. And when you lay out the full timeline of what happened in the 8 weeks between Oliver Tree leaving Atlantic Records and dying in a helicopter crash in Brazil, the patterns are uncomfortable enough that millions of people have stopped and asked the question. So let's lay it all out, every piece, and let you decide. Piece 1. On April 1st, 2026, Oliver Tree publicly accused Atlantic Records of canceling his album, stripping him of marketing support, and failing to properly release songs he had already delivered. He said he had made them tens of millions of dollars, and they had turned their back on him. This was not a private complaint filed through lawyers. This was a direct, named, on-camera accusation posted to his Instagram with millions of followers watching. Piece 2. Less than 2 weeks later, he announced he was releasing the album independently through his own Alien Boy Records imprint, cutting Atlantic out entirely, not just leaving, taking the music with him, releasing it himself, proving that he did not need them, and that the machine he had fed for 9 years could not hold him. Piece 3. On April 24th, 2026, the same day the album dropped, Oliver Tree appeared on the Zach Sang Show and said something that has resurfaced and spread widely since his death.
And so when I die, I've set it up, my will is set up that when I pass, my family, no one's gonna get a penny.
A man talking about what happens when he dies. On the day his independent album dropped, 51 days before the helicopter crash. Piece 4, the Flowers music video, released in February 2026, filmed in Latvia as part of the recording sessions for Love You Madly, Hate You Badly. The video shows Oliver Tree in a pilot's uniform, standing on stairs positioned directly between 2 helicopters. The song ends with the line, "Put flowers on my tombstone, 'cause I'll hate you till the day I'm dead." Was it prophetic? Almost certainly not. Oliver Tree made absurdist visual art. Helicopters, tombstones, pilot uniforms. These were aesthetic choices, not predictions. But the image of him standing between 2 helicopters, singing about his own grave, released 4 months before he died in a collision between 2 helicopters. That image is going to stay with people for a long time, regardless of what the investigation finds. Piece 5, the viral post, the Observer account on X posted Oliver Tree's April 1st Instagram video alongside a fabricated quote claiming he said, "They told me to watch my back and that I will regret leaving them." That quote does not appear in the video. It was invented and attached to real footage to push a narrative. The post got 8 million views before anyone meaningfully fact-checked it. And here is what that tells you. Not about Atlantic Records, but about the public. 8 million people saw that post and found it believable enough to share. Not because they are gullible, because the underlying tension between Oliver Tree and his label was real enough, documented enough, and recent enough that a fabricated threat landed as plausible. That is how volatile the real situation was. Someone invented a quote and 8 million people said, yeah, that tracks. Now, does any of this mean Atlantic Records had anything to do with the helicopter crash in Rio de Janeiro? Let's think about that seriously for a moment. Atlantic Records is a subsidiary of Warner Music Group, a publicly traded company. Oliver Tree, despite his cultural footprint, represented a fraction of their roster and a fraction of their revenue. He had already left. The album was already out. The conflict was already public. Silencing him after the fact would accomplish nothing except creating exactly the kind of conspiracy theory that is now spreading across every platform, which is the last thing a major label wants attached to its name. The more uncomfortable reading of this story is simpler and sadder than a conspiracy. A genuinely original artist spent 9 years inside a machine that was never built for what he was making. He fought his way out, he launched his own label, he booked the biggest tour of his life, he went to Brazil, got into a recording studio, and started working on whatever came next. And then 2 helicopters collided over a neighborhood in Rio de Janeiro at 9 in the morning. And none of the rest of it happened. But the question that 8 million people asked in the first 12 hours, the question that the Flowers video keeps alive every time someone watches it, is not going away just because the most likely answer is an accident. Melanie Martinez, who dated Oliver Tree for roughly a year before an amicable split in 2020, posted an extended tribute to her Instagram stories in the hours after the crash was confirmed. She wrote, "Been an absolute wreck today. It's really hard to understand how someone who you once shared such a specific and formative time of your life with can all of a sudden be gone. He was so dedicated to his art, which I admired and respected deeply. His laugh was so contagious and warm. His ability to lead creatively and take action, while also maintaining a sense of childlike wonder and awe, was so inspiring. He had such a heart and was a true artist in every way." She ended with, "Rest in peace, Oliver. I know you're making the angels giggle. I'll be here wondering what stunt and creative project you're scheming up in heaven." That line, from someone who knew him better than almost anyone. Still wondering if it was a stunt. That is the measure of who he was. KSI posted on X, "You're 32, man. You should still be here. You still had so much life to live, so much music to make, so much content to make. You're a legend and will always be a legend. Still doesn't feel real. Genuinely feels sick. I love you, bro." Kid Cudi posted, "Man, spoke to Oliver a few weeks ago. This is heartbreaking. A really amazing and beautiful human. This sucks bad. Sending all my prayers and love to the families dealing with losses. Oliver, we love you forever." Oliver Tree spent his entire career making people question what was real. The bowl cut, the Turbo character, the retirement announcements he ignored, the April Fool's post that turned out not to be a joke. He built a persona so committed to blurring the line between performance and reality that even on the day he died, people's first instinct was to wonder if he had staged it. He hadn't. He was 32 years old, 51 days free from a label he had publicly called out, on the biggest tour of his life, in a recording studio the night before he died, still building something. He left behind a body of work that turned self-deprecation, surrealism, and pop hooks into something wholly his own. A rare artist who treated the music video, the live show, and the meme as one continuous canvas. 4 albums, hundreds of millions of streams, a Guinness World Record for a giant scooter. A charity for emerging artists he was building so the money he made would go back into music after he was gone. A Flowers music video with him standing between 2 helicopters, singing about a tombstone that nobody is ever going to watch the same way again. The investigation into what happened over Rio de Janeiro on June 14th is ongoing. Whether this was an accident, a coincidence, or something darker, that answer is still coming. What is not coming back is Oliver Tree. Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this story raised questions for you, subscribe. We will be covering this investigation as new details surface. This was Oliver Tree, gone at 32. He put flowers on his tombstone before any of us knew he would need them.